Well, good morning. It's a clear, cool day in the state of Jefferson, up here in Northern California. And we are, Wikiman and I, Santos, we're out here at the top of Mount Huth. It's a little chilly up here this morning. I don't know whether do we have even a thermostat we can like change, or has it been abducted? Is it under lock and key?
It's there, but it's not hooked up.
It's not hooked up.
Nope.
All right. So anyway, we're layered up out here, and we can see our breath. And we're going to be here for 3 hours today. We weren't here last week because we had a problem with the equipment, and we just got aced out. So we're giving another shot today, and we're going to be here till noon. So all you refugees from California that are up there in Idaho, no snow here in the valley. Just want to remind you, no snow in the Sacramento Valley, and hope you're doing good. All you at Juvenile Hall, we'll give you a shout out. All you guys that paid attention, turned on the radio this morning, give you a shout out at Juvenile Hall, and just remind you that there's a lot to do out there other than being locked up in a little cage. So hope you're going to have a good day over there. Make the best of it. So if you'd like to connect with us, you can, if you're out there and too far away to pick us up really strong, you can go on the internet and you can go to knycradio.com and click on the Listen Live button, and hopefully the live stream is working. We got the thumbs up on that, and then people are just going on their phones and tablets and going on doing all kinds of things, looking on radio apps and going on Google and just plugging in KNYC and figuring out how to connect with us. So you can listen to us clearer that way than catching us at the end of as they say, the airwaves. So if you want to call, you can, 530-742-5555. People say, how many calls you get? I said, we don't get many calls. And some of the calls we get, people want to wait an hour and then want me to go back and talk about a particular subject, and we don't really do that because we're just here once a week. So we don't go back. We're not trying to fill airtime. We have a lot to talk about, so we just kind of jam as much in as we can. So if you're new to this, picking up on this channel, we're out here in Yuba County. That's one of the 58 counties in California. Hopefully we'll be one of the 21, 2, 3, or 4 counties in Northern California that will split off and become the state of Jefferson. Although the courts in California are making that difficult, but we'll see. We'll see how that works out. We'll see how gnarly it gets and how stubborn people can get. A lot of times people don't like what's going on, but they don't want to do anything about it because they don't want to put any energy into it, It's just the way things are. We like to whine a lot, but not do a lot. So there's been a lot of talk, as you can hear on all over the news, about the government shutdown and that the terrible Donald Trump is shutting down the government. Well, let me just help you with the truth. The government when it shuts down, it says, I just heard them on the news just while we were waiting to go on the air. All these federal workers are now not going to get paid and they're on leave. Let me tell you, if I was a federal worker, they put me on leave right now, I'd just be clapping my hands, right? Taking my kids, got an extra week off for Christmas, and I'd just be hitting the road, enjoying life, right? Going to get some extra time off. You know what's going to happen? As soon as they come back to work, they're going to reimburse those people and give them extra vacation. It happens every single time. And matter of fact, tomorrow I got to catch a plane, and I was hoping that TSA would not be open, right? Because I don't want them to grab my junk. Even though they scan me and do all that stuff, I put all my stuff in the little box like I'm supposed to. I don't know why. I'm an old guy. Why would they want to grab me between the legs all the time? I think they're all those homosexuals over there, perverts, and they want to get a little checking me out all the time. And but it happens every single time. They're always wanting to grab me and stick their finger on my butt and wondering if I'm packing some bomb back there. So I was hoping TSA would shut down, but they said poor TSA workers, those poor people, they actually have to work for getting paid. Everybody, it's interesting. We conservatives, they like to complain about welfare, but conservative farmers, they like those subsidies. And the fact is, all of us, we got that gnarly side to us. We say, oh, yeah, we're hard workers. We believe you ought to work for what you get. But then we got that thing where we all want something for nothing, don't we? You got to watch that. It's just like it's a gnarly thing, just like your fingernails growing out. It's always coming at you. You always got to deal with it, trying to get by on the cheap. So we have the government shutdown. I'm just thanking God for it because I'm sick of politicians playing games. And I wrote an article, it's coming out Monday night on the eTerritorial. It's in the territorialdispatch.biz on Tuesday. You can look at it online or you can get it hard copy on Tuesday this coming week. And, the fact is, people are just crazy about all this immigration stuff and the whole thing about the wall and all that. I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, but it's just nonsense. And you can go back on YouTube and you can find Bill and Hillary Clinton, both, Barack Obama, Chuck Schumer, one of the leaders in the United States Senate from New York, and Harry Reid, who used to be the chairman of the Senate. Every one of them in detail goes through and attacks illegal immigration, anchor babies, the whole thing. They just go after it and attack them and say, we need to build a wall. We need to stop this. We need to stop that. But all of a sudden they have changed their tune because they know that if there's no borders and people can flood in here without a hindrance, that is going to be big benefit to the liberal Democrats and socialists in this country. And that's why, but the interesting thing is with the technology and YouTube and films and recordings, you can go back and watch them be hypocrites. But it's just clear as can be. And so now they say, well, it's just, they say, well, the big deal, the border wall is just a waste of money. Have you ever seen as much of a waste of money as these people going back to Washington every year, all year, and just bickering and wasting? They waste our money every single day back there. And then they say, oh, we don't want to waste any money. $5 billion, right? The fact is, they say, well, we don't want to build the wall because it won't work. No, the first part is true. The Democrats don't want to build a wall, but the reason changes. The reason is different. They say it won't work. The fact is, the reason they don't want the wall is because it will work really well. So when I go to China, which I haven't been in a couple of years because there's a crackdown in China, and if you try to bring any contraband in and they catch you, which they'll probably will because they're checking everybody nowadays, they will take away your visa. But in China, between Hong Kong and the border city Shenzhen, it'd be like between San Diego and Tijuana. Between those two cities, there's a big wall with razor wire on the top. It's gnarly. right? And there's a moat. There's like a moat. So you got to cross razor wire fencing, really high fencing, steel and razor wire and metal, and then you got to go through water. And then you get shot. How about that? That would be between, that's the border crossing. They call it Lowu border crossing, Lowu. Crossed there many, many times. And all the way up and down the border. Chinese are not playing. Why would they have a border wall between Hong Kong and Shenzhen? Because I thought Hong Kong in the late 90s, Britain gave back Hong Kong. They did. But the Chinese know if they let down that border wall, the communists, the people in communist China will flood into Hong Kong, hoping for greater opportunity. So they keep them under wraps, right? I thought so. At the other area that totally changed the situation in Israel when Israel built a wall to keep out Arab terrorists, Hamas, Palestinians, and all that. And according to Netanyahu, the prime minister, it's nearly 100% effective of keeping people out that are dangerous to the people of Israel. And there are many, many examples. I'm not going to spend a whole show on it. But the point is, all this liberal media hype is a propaganda. It's dogma. And it's a good thing the government's shutting down. I want you to, I don't know whether they'll shut down for the whole holiday for the next few weeks, but I want you to make a note of all the areas in your life that are inconvenienced because Washington, D.C. and all the federal workers are not working. And then once you realize that you don't really have a list of inconveniences, then you can ask yourself this question. Why do we hire them anyway? Why do we want them anyway? Right? It's the same thing. We've had furloughs in California. And they call them, we're going to lay off those that are involved in non-essential services. Well, I always say if they're non-essential, let's eliminate them permanent. It's just like recently the city of Marysville was so happy to get all this extra money from the sales tax that they passed. Measure C, remember that? A couple of years ago now. And they said finally, after 4 or 5 years, I didn't realize they'd been furloughing 1 day a week. They were furloughing off the city workers. I thought, you know something? There's a lot I could complain about in the city of Marysville about letting this go and letting that go and not taking care of this and not taking care of that. But actually, I was happy with 4 days a week. You know, I don't know how often you go to City Hall. I might go there once every few years. Now, maybe if you're getting a building permit, that's an inconvenience for you, but they could always sub that out to a private entity and not even have to go through the city. There's a lot of things you could do differently. We just get used to doing things a certain way and think that's the only way we can do things, right? So don't worry about the shutdown. The Democrats are going to make a big old deal. Even the weaselly, whiny, pencil-neck Republicans will even complain and, oh, we shouldn't have done that. We're supposed to come back. I watched one of the Democrats. I can't remember his name. He's one of the top Democrats. He just blew a gasket on the floor of the House and complained about we're supposed to come back here and take care of the people's business. I thought, you guys are such full of crock of crap. That's the last thing you're back there for yourself. That's what that's all about. Well, so we got to shut down. Hallelujah. And I was just hoping that when I get down to Sacramento tomorrow morning, I could just walk on there and just jump on that plane, give them my voucher and just like fly out with no TSA fondling me and molesting me. But no, they said TSA's got to be, we got the border guards are still going to be in business and TSA is going to be in business. So how's about that? Well, I want to thank Elite Universal Security. They're supporting us out here. And we got Elite Universal Security, Dave Greenwich Construction, Ted Holmes Construction, the plumbing company he runs, the plumbing doctor. They're always solving my plumbing problems. Water's going the wrong way when I'm trying to flush it. It's kind of come over and visit me. or it's running out on my feet underneath the sink, or it's all of a sudden I think steam coming out of the ground outside. It's crazy at my house. But I was called a plumbing doctor. So we thank all these guys for years. They've been supporting us. Elite Universal Security is starting their second year of helping us stay on the air. You know, some people think I get paid to be out here. In fact, sometimes I wonder why I'm not getting paid out here. So how come we not getting paid? Everybody else gets paid. But we got to pay our way out there, so we're working for food. We had one of our listeners bring in what was that we got? What was that? Chile relleno? Was that a relleno deal?
Yeah, I think it was a chili relleno. Tortilleria Flores. Yeah.
Down on Garden Highway.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, Percy near Garden Highway. That place has been here for years. I made about 3 meals out of that. That was like one meal. Just one meal. I made 3 meals out of that. I think my stomach's shrinking. Anyway, we got food delivery 2 weeks ago at the end of our deal. I thought, what? That's a bonus. So usually we just get coffee and diamond salted almonds. So Elite Universal Security is helping us, and they do a lot of classes on if you want to get a concealed weapon permit, or you want to take any kind of classes like on how to use a taser or handcuff training, taser certified training, de-escalation of force. They got lots of classes, but right now at the holidays, they're taking a break, and they're going to fire right back up after the first of the year on their concealed weapon classes, and recertifications will be on January 12th and 13th, and then on January 26th and 27th. So if you get a gun for Christmas, come on. Thank Jesus for it, and then go out there and call Monty Hecker at 749-0280 and go get yourself a license. We shouldn't even have to do this, but Monty helps you do it. He'll make it easy for you, teach you how to shoot and do all the right stuff. And but they also have some classes they're giving on pepper spray and taser training. And so there's all kinds of classes. But, you know, the other day I noticed on Facebook, they were saying, hey, we need some workers. They're running out of workers. It doesn't surprise me because there's more and more lawlessness. You know, if they're not going to arrest people for stealing anything under $950, people become emboldened, and they just come and knock your window out and just reach in and grab something right out of your front seat of your car. And so there's a lot of tweakers out there. So if you want to try to develop some anti-tweaker theft strategies, you need to call Monty Hecker, and he will help you figure out how to keep people. I noticed on Facebook the other day, he said you need to install one of these doorbells on the wall of your entry, because you can actually have that connected to your smartphone, and if somebody presses the doorbell, it takes a video of the folks that are there. And I thought, Monty knows all that cool stuff. And so it's a security issue. So if you're trying to figure out your security issues, somebody's always taking your stuff from your home or your business, call Monty at 530-749-0280. And if you want a live scan, if you need a live scan and you think, oh, they just do it a couple days a week over at the Sheriff's Department, you just go to the Elite Universal Security out on Feather River Boulevard, and they will hook you up with a live scan. You don't have to wait for a particular day of the week. It's 5548 Feather River Boulevard. You call them up, just drop in there, get yourself a live scan, and then you can go do whatever business. If you're trying to get a particular license or permit or something, you need a live scan, they'll hook you up. Okay? So they're going to do a taser and pepper spray class also on January 5th that they can get a minimum of 3 students. So if you thought, oh, maybe you'll get some pepper spray for Christmas, or maybe somebody will buy you a taser. Have you ever bought your wife pepper spray? No, you don't. She's got it on her own. She got a gun. She haven't got a gun. She just socked people, huh? I see. All right. Okay, so anyway, that's what's on. And Dave Greenitz, by the way, somebody texted me or said something to me. It said, oh, well, because I said, check with Greenitz Construction. You want to redo your kitchen or bath, and he might give you the Deadhead discount, with the Grateful Dead, Deadhead discount. if you mention the show here and somebody said, well, I don't like the Grateful Dead. You know, people they miss the point a lot of times. So he got all caught up in being not a Grateful Dead fan, as instead of like focusing on getting a discount on getting your kitchen and bath redone. You know, it's just like people miss the point. It's like I took this English class. I was taking English at Marysville High School, and I read the book. I did the work. I wrote the report, and the teacher said, thanks for doing all that. The point is, you missed the point. Like you had to write like, what's this book all about, right? And I told her what the book all about, and she said, you missed the whole point, Lou. It's just like, it's amazing. People miss the whole point, right? You have a conversation, and you tell them about getting a great deal with Greenwich Construction on an incredible kitchen remodel or bath, and they want to get caught up talking about the Grateful Dead. People are stuck on stupid, right? It's just like your computer getting locked up. They're just stuck on stupid. So anyway, that's that. Well, are we going to be here live next week again? Yeah, we're going to. Wikiman's, he's trying to be here live. If he can't be here, it goofs me totally up. We got to do a pre-record. That's what got us goofed up last week. And so we got out here and the equipment wouldn't work. So it's like, there you go. So it goofed us all up, and we didn't know what to do. We just walked out lost. If you saw a couple of lost guys walking around Marysville, that would have been us. We had all our equipment with us, all our paperwork, everything. Okay, so we're going to be here for 2.5 more hours. We'll be with you in just a minute. We ready to take a break? Is that what we're going to do? He's saying somebody else needs to talk for a second. All right, we'll be right back.
California was never supposed to be just one state. Before the state was formed in 1850, there was discussion of forming 3 states instead of 1. California has an area larger than 7 East Coast states combined, and it takes 14 hours to drive from one end of the state to the other. California is simply too large to govern. Rural communities are being outvoted by more densely populated areas. The state of Jefferson is the solution. Please visit soj51.net to show your support.
Check out the Territorial Dispatch. Papers are weekly and can be obtained free at distribution or by mail through subscriptions. Only locally owned and operated newspaper in the region. The paper is the rest of the story. And also check out the E-Territorial. It's an online version of the Territorial Dispatch which features local news and events for the Yuba Sutter, Colusa, and Nevada County areas. You'll also find daily and breaking news updates, current traffic, and weather information along with a calendar of local events. Visit the E-Territorial at eterritorial.com.
We understand we live in a dangerous world. The enemies of freedom are real, and we need to be ready to defend all of our freedoms.
Freedom to me is the ability to live how I see fit to live.
That's exactly what this country was founded on, was freedom. It is in danger.
The elites and their ideology are destroying this country. We're losing the America that we all love.
Gun rights are under assault.
It's important that we fight for our freedom.
We're at a critical stage.
We are freedom's safest place.
The Second Amendment, after freedom of speech and religion, it was the first thing our founding fathers thought of. That is the pinnacle of freedom.
It's about my safety, and I'm going to fight for my safety.
I love the freedom that I have. I'm appreciative of the NRA for fighting for that freedom.
And they're on the front lines doing something to defend our rights and the voice of the people.
It protects law-abiding citizens.
The work that the NRA does is important, preserving freedom and liberty.
Keeping people informed, raising awareness about what's going on in the country.
They are the protector of our freedoms.
The NRA stands for freedom.
In the face of this relentless onslaught of gun control schemes, you're the reason the Second Amendment still stands. You're the tip of the spear.
You're the ones that make it possible for us every day to defend this freedom.
They're fighting for our fundamental freedoms, and I can't think of anything more important than that.
One person to politicians in Washington is nothing, but together, as members of the NRA, we actually can have a voice.
We must lead the way, and we must save our freedom.
We're going to fight for the America we believe in. This is a fight for our freedom.
We need to reawaken the passion and pride and unity of purpose that made this country so special.
We're the National Rifle Association of America. We're born to fight, and we're not going anywhere.
Stand up if you want to protect your right to protect yourself. Stand up if you believe in freedom. Stand up and every day speak out. And we're going to stand for freedom and fight. We will not be silent.
Right. Well, Merry Christmas to you. So the women been out there getting it on, shopping left and right. So the men got a couple days before they start, and then we'll get it on here and get done. Have a happy Christmas. All right. So, well, we've been talking about sales taxes, and all up and down the state, cities and counties and districts and jurisdictions are freaking out. And the reason they're freaking out is what began as a way, did you know back in the day when the state was a lot smaller in terms of employees, some employees would never quit because they would just keep working. They were like 120 years of age, and they wouldn't quit because they didn't have any retirement. They didn't set any money aside, so they couldn't afford to quit. And then the state couldn't fire them because they kept, and they would at least make it to the job, although they'd snooze part of the day. So finally, they forced them to retire at a certain deal, and they made up a retirement once upon a time to get rid of people. It wasn't like to reward people, it was to get rid of them. And there was an exit plan. And then the unions got involved and created this thing called CalPERS and CalSTRS for teachers. And then they organized all the teachers and the government employees. They were allowed to organize them so they could strike and they could do whatever they want. And they then had power. And so they went to the politicians and they said, if you'll give us what we want, we'll give you what you want. You're an egomaniac, so we'll put you in office. We'll fund you. We'll have our people work for you to get elected, just like they've done locally here in Yuba County or whatever county you're in. Same. I know more about Yuba and Sutter than I do about Placer, Nevada, Colusa, Butte, etc. So they said, we will help you, you help us, politicians. So what we've seen is over and over and over again, generations of politicians. You remember when Gray Davis, who we evicted from office? I think he gave the correctional officers in the state prisons about a 35% bump in pay at one time. Did you know that? And so on and on it went. And then at one time, CalPERS went to the politicians and said, we can raise the amount of money that we're giving people for pensions. We could give a person up to give them 3%, up to 3%, 2.5 or 3% times the years of service. So if you did 30 years of service for, say, CHP, we'll give them 3%. That means they could retire and receive 90% of their highest year pay for the rest of their life. And they convinced the legislature to go along with this. Well, the legislature thought this is great because then we can get all the unions to support us and keep us in office because we're the brightest people on earth. And so but the CalPERS people told the legislature that we are making so much money on our investments that it won't affect the population at all. In other words, the people will not have to pay any more into this. We're just doing so good at our investments. We have so much extra money. This is before the dot-com collapse. Remember that? We have so much money that we can give more money to our retirees, our law enforcement guys. It's kind of started out bumping up the law enforcement folks at the state level. That'd be CHP. And then everything trickled down. So then the local unions of the sheriff's departments, the police departments, et cetera, said, well, hey, we want the same, right? Somebody else gets a raise. They say, hey, what about me? What about me? What about me? So everybody started bumping up their rates because CalPERS says, we got this. It's not going to have any impact on the local jurisdictions. Well, they were wrong. They were wrong. People sometimes are right and sometimes are wrong. You face that every day. You go to the counter, you check out, and they say, oh, No, you were wrong. Oh, no, you were wrong. Like, I got the wrong change back. No, I charged you twice for that, right? People are wrong sometimes. They made a big mistake. And so instead of saying we made a mistake, so now we want to reduce the amount allowed on retirement, it's like once you give it, it's like to hell with you. You can't take it back. And you promised that. And so if we don't care if the whole state, if the whole country goes bankrupt, our hands in the till, and we're going to take what's ours, right? It became ours. People say, we don't like all this entitlement stuff for welfare people. Well, the people that are getting a retirement, they say, well, we work for it. Oh, yeah, you work for it. And so now the taxpayers got to pay that for the rest of your life. It's not like my money that I set aside for my retirement. If I screwed up and made bad decisions, that comes out of my hide, not out of your hide, right? But for the public employees, if they didn't set enough money aside and it wasn't invested properly by CalPERS, who pays for that? The taxpayer, not the retiree, right? That isn't fair. And so CalPERS, they gave a bonus and a raise to their CEO recently. They gave an $80,000 raise. They down there, if you go just Google CalPERS and look at their building, and you'll think, hey, these people don't give a rip about people struggling to make ends meet up here in Yuba County. They got it going on down there. They got both hands and an extra set of hands in the till, and their kids' hands in the till down there, ripping people off. So all these jurisdictions up and down the state, up in cities, everything, they're all saying we need more money. How are we going to get more money? Well, they said the legislation years ago said locals can go out and they can add on to the sales tax. You know, at one time there was no such thing as a sales tax in California. And then for years, it was just like 3% or 3.2. Just Google California sales tax and look on Wikipedia, tell you the whole history of sales tax. Look at it yourself. And so once politicians saw that they could add a tax on everything you buy, they just keep raising the rate. Then the locals said, hey, wait a minute. We don't get enough of that sales tax, that 7.25. So we want a sales tax that we get all of. So then Marysville passes, they failed one time, and then they finally got Measure C passed, and they say, we want a 1% tax, that we get all 1% of it. And once they were successful, and the Yuba County supervisors drooled over that, and they said, we're gonna add ourselves a sales tax, and then they lied. They portrayed the sales tax as if it was going to go to just public safety. You can do that, you know. You can have a sales tax and at every nickel go to sheriffs, deputies, and firefighters. You can do that. And that's perfectly legitimate. The only hang-up is that if you do it that way, the legislation, Proposition 218, and Proposition 13, two propositions the voters passed, 218 and 13, they said if you want to pass another tax on the people, you have to have 2/3 of the people agree to it. 2/3, not a simple majority, 50% plus one. So if you want to say, hey, we want to raise money to build a municipal swimming pool. We want to raise money to build a new courthouse. We want to raise money to build an airport. It's fine as long as you do 2/3 majority vote. So what they did is in Yuba County is they did a couple things. One is they wrote the ordinance incorrectly. Number two is that they began talking about it, saying this money is going to be protected and guaranteed to support law enforcement, and then they threw in other essential services, fire and public safety and other essential services. They did a boo-boo, right? And so it makes a difference how you word these things. If they said, we just need more money in Yuba County, it's just too expensive to run government here, and we cannot pave the roads, do the sewers, do the building permits, all that stuff. Unless we just have more money, we need to have another 1% general sales tax for use in anywhere we see fit, and we'll make the best decisions we can. If they had done that, they could have done a 50% plus one general majority vote, and they would have been good to go. But no, they tried to have their cake, and then they wanted to eat their cake and still have it sitting in the fridge. And you can't have it that way. So when they put Measure K, they started having all these meetings and sending out all these flyers. And then they started buying signs, and they did all these research and hired all these companies. And the other odd thing is they actually did that spending your and my tax dollars that was supposed to pave the roads, fix the sewers, keep the lights up, fund law enforcement, take care of business, right? Fund the DA's office, right? They took that money to $300,000. We don't even know. It's hard to they just don't volunteer it, right? You got to go through a legal process to even get that, and then they drag their feet on it. So at one time, early on in the effort with Measure K, we found out they'd already spent over $100,000 of our tax money and didn't even ask our permission. And that is also against the law. Did you know that? The statute says that if you're going to just inform people about something, for instance, they say, hey, it's fire season coming up, so clean out around your buildings 100 yards or whatever. That's just a general piece of information. Or if they put out a piece of information, we want to raise taxes. If we raise taxes, it will do this, this, and this, and the negative part is it's going to cost you, in other words, an unbiased information piece on taxes. That'd be one thing. But if the statute says you cannot, as a government, go out and in a biased fashion promote a certain position on legislation, new legislation, or a measure or a proposition. Because you can't take the people's money, their tax money, and turn around and lobby against them to take more of their tax money and fool them, deceive them. So that's exactly what Yuba County did. They deceived the people, spent our own money against us, right? That's like the meth addicts. And one meth addict steals the meth from the other addict, and then he helps him all night look for it. But he's the one that actually stole it. That's what this is. It's taking your money and then coming after you and using that money against you to take more of your money. So people complained. And Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, which was started back in, I think, 1978 by a guy named Howard Jarvis and another guy named Paul Gann, two old guys that fought to get Prop 13 passed to put a limit on how high your property taxes would be. That organization stayed in existence because they needed to protect the rights of the public from getting overrun by government, which they were in California. So now Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association is comprised of over 200,000 members, California members, that donate to them. They're a nonprofit, so they will try to protect and limit the amount of taxes that are coming down and how taxes are coming to existence. That's why we got this 2/3 versus a simple majority. So recently, during the campaign to get Measure K passed by Yuba County, Howard Jarvis wrote the Yuba County supervisors and said, listen, this is the law. This is our business. This is all we do. We don't grow tomatoes. We don't grow avocados. We don't build cars. We just are involved in legislative issues, campaigns. We watch whether the law is being obeyed or not. And the last I saw, every time I violate the law, and I violate a driving law or whatever law, the police want to pull me over and say, Lou, how come you did that? How come you didn't put the tags on your car? How come your lights out on your back of your car? Even in Marysville, you got to check and see what color you can paint your house. And so we got to obey the law, but the government also is supposed to obey the law. Did you know that? And so Howard Jarvis said to the Board of Supervisors of Yuba County, hey, just thought we'd let you know that you're violating the law the way this ordinance is written. And you can still change it. You can just let everybody know that it's going to have to be a 2/3 vote, or you could change it to a general thing and say it's not all about public safety. We're just raising money, so help us raise more money. We'll take care of you. We'll do good by you. But the Yuba County supervisors and Robert Bendorf, the county administrator, said, no, we think we got this. We think we are smarter than you, Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. So we're going to go forward with Measure K the way it is. In other words, we just need 50% plus 1, and they did. They got that. They got, I don't know what they get, 53%. They got, there was 7,000 some odd votes for it and 7,000 some odd votes against it, but they got several hundred more votes. They got 54.1% of the vote for it, okay? So, but the legislation said, listen, if you want to use money for a specific reason, you got to get a 2/3 vote. So Howard Jarvis said that. The supervisors and Robert Bendorf said what they said, and they went ahead and the election happened. So this Friday, yesterday, a law firm out of Sacramento called Bell, McAndrews, and Hiltach, Hiltachk, if you want to look it up, or you can look at an article that will appear in the Territorial Dispatch on Monday afternoon. You could look at it yourself because Measure K challenged, or you can look on the No on Measure K Facebook site, No on Measure K, and you can read the article there because I let them read it, and I wrote an article just simply telling what this law firm called Bell, McAndrews, and Hiltach in Sacramento specializes in political law compliance and litigation, right? And so they filed a lawsuit in Yuba County against the Yuba County supervisors, saying that they just violated the law, and they also filed a suit against the state of California administration that administrates the taxes. They collect the money and then give it back to Yuba County, for instance. It's the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration. So they are asking the judge, probably one of the Superior Court judges of Yuba County, to rule that the tax, according to Prop 218 and Proposition 13, is an invalid tax. In other words, they didn't process it correctly, and so it should be ruled invalid. Number two, they want an injunction. That means stop it. An injunction against the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration from starting to tax the people and take the money because it's an unconstitutional tax. Why is it unconstitutional? Well, if something's in the Constitution and then you violate the Constitution by trying to get around it, that's why you have a judge just say, this is what the Constitution says, and this is what you did. It's either constitutional or unconstitutional. It's like, hey, if you wanted the money, you should have asked for it correctly and not deceived the people. Now, if you want to read about it, as I said, right now you're anxious, you can go on No on Measure K. It's a Facebook site, and you can read all about it. The thing that this doesn't address, this lawsuit does not address the illegal use of hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayer funds to lobby against the voters. And that's expressly forbidden in the law. Now, the organization that takes care of that is a different organization, and it's called the FPPC, California FPPC, Fair Political Practices Commission, FPPC. Now, when you go, if you're interested in this and you think, that ain't right, they shouldn't take our tax dollars and actually try to convince us to take more of our tax dollars, that's not fair. Well, if you think that's not fair, the only recourse you have, other than voting out your supervisor, which you have 5 supervisors, 3 are coming up for election in 2020. It's up to you. But if you want a quicker recourse or another recourse to someone ripping you off, which is essentially what happened, you can go to the Fair Political Practices Commission website and you can file a complaint about the use of taxpayer funds to lobby against you in a biased fashion. Again, counties can use taxpayer funds to inform the citizens of something, but not to lobby them to vote a certain way. So on the Facebook site, No on Measure K, you can find a link to the Fair Political Practices Commission. It's very simple. If you're intimidated by technology, I am too. I'm old, but I pulled it off myself. And you just click on that link, and you just put in your name, your address, your email, and then you click on what you think the county did wrong to violate the law. And it may not be the exact complaint. You click on a complaint, and then they have a little box to explain what your issue is. And you can just simply say down there, Measure K, on Measure K, the county, Yuba County, took taxpayer dollars, probably over $200,000 worth, and lobbied the citizens to vote for Measure K. And that's an improper use, according to the law, of taxpayer funds. Now, this is under the jurisdiction of the Fair Political Practices Commission. Right now, they are, from what I understand from articles I've read, they are suing the Board of Supervisors as individuals in L.A. County for doing the exact same thing on an initiative down there. I think it had to do with, I don't know whether it had to do with sewage or water or something. But the way they did it was, again, it was not following the law. It's pretty simple. You know, when a lay people, I mean, that means non-attorneys, can look at the law and come up with the right conclusion, and yet you're paying for $1 million county council office over here in Yuba County, and they can't seem to get the right things right. It's a little frustrating. But so anyway, you had Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association went after the county of L.A., or the city of L.A., about how they process this proposition. Then you had Fair Political Practices Commission go after them on using the taxpayers' money against them. So if you want to file a complaint, it's very simple. Don't just sit back and whine, right? Don't sit back and whine. Don't sit back and complain and say, I wish somebody would do something. There's just not enough people to do that, so that are actually going to do something. So why don't you do something? And instead of just vote and say, oh, well, we got screwed, they shouldn't have done that, deal with it. Go there and file a complaint. We'll be right back, and we'll kick off our second hour in a second.
Somewhere over this horizon sit a million little dictators, eager to purge humanity of its hunting instincts. Contrived emotions flood from their air-conditioned, glass-paneled, Wi-Fi-enabled habitats, over the mountains and out into the wild, from which they hate to admit they emerged. Their foolish quest to force nature to fit their feelings threatens the survival of every living thing on our planet. If their fevered tantrums are ever imposed, the Earth will be ruled by the deadliest combination in the natural world: human ignorance and human arrogance. Travel another path, the truest path, nature's path. Trust the hunter in your blood.
All right. Well, this is Lou Benninger. We're we on? We're good. It just went really quiet all of a sudden. We're good? Losing my mind. I'm a little anxious today because I know that I'm going to get fondled here in a few hours. I'm down there to, it would be one way if the babe was really good looking, but it's usually a guy or it's a gal that her pants are so tight and she's like about 200 pounds that you can see the zipper just like almost wanting to pull apart right there in her crotch. And her pants are like folded over because her belly's like hanging over there. And it's like, are those pants going to hold while I get through here? And she's wanting to grab me. And then even though they say, are you sure you got everything out of everything? You like totally stripped, but you got your clothes on? I say, yeah, I got it. And no buzzer goes off, but they still say, no, we're going to have to take you over into secondary and wand you. But then after they wand you and nothing happens, they say, do you got any like odd parts in your body or anything, like plastic parts or metal, and then they think, well, I'm going to be, then they tell you what they're going to do. Like, we're going to grab you right between the legs in your crotch. Now we're going to grab you over here. Now we're going to grab you up your butt, right? No wonder people have to take meds and bring on those little dogs and everything with them to get through all that stuff now. It's stressful. I'm stressed. I can't even hardly do this show today. Just thinking about having to go down to Sacramento. And there's one thing, having to get on the plane and then having to fly in a tube for a couple hours. And next thing is people got to molest you. Well, I wrote an article. I think it was last week, or maybe it hasn't. I can't even remember what week it is. I think it was last week. I wrote about Al Gore. I was going to talk about it last week, and then we got bumped off the air. So last week, December 13th, it was the 10-year anniversary when Al Gore predicted that the North Polar ice cap was going to melt, just melt, and within 5 years. So in 2013, it should have been melted. And remember Obama? I was looking at some old Obama clips last night on all the Muslim stuff he was promoting while he was in office. I'm forgetting a lot of that stuff. It was shocking to me. But Obama, remember, he predicted he was going to stop the rise of the tides, right? That's something God does, not people. But anyway, Gore, he claimed that there was no turning back, that the ice caps are going to melt. And but it's interesting. You know, Al Gore, you would think if he was, like I said in my article, if he was really caring about the world and he was a martyr, he'd be like Mother Teresa and the Missionaries of Charity, who took a vow of poverty to serve the poor. But these climate people, they think it's okay for them to fly solo in a chartered jet around the world to go to a climate meeting and to drive gas guzzlers and to have multiple homes, but not you and me. And also, I played this clip before. I'd never thought of this. I'm just not that smart. I'm always mooching information off other people that are a lot smarter than I am. But this guy says, he's a multi-bajillionaire, he says, don't you think that the smartest people in the world are people that are putting their money out for developments, like bankers and investment people, putting their money out for developments? They don't want to take a risk where they won't get their money back. So why would they be funding all these developments along the coastal areas of the United States? I notice when I go to Vietnam, all the big fancy resorts and hotels like to be along what the Vietnamese call the East Sea, the Chinese call it the China Sea, all along one side, the eastern side of Vietnam is ocean, just like California, it's the western side. And so all the beautiful resorts are right on the beach. You know how they do it? In the United States, there is no move at all to not fund resorts all along the coastlines. Now, why do you think that is if global warming and the rising tides are going to be a big issue? Because you would not allow that, or you would not invest your money there because banks would not get their return on their money, right? But nobody thinks very deeply about this. So the ice cap is actually growing thicker. Then there was a whole deal about polar bears. We're not going to be able to have sex because you can't get your footing. You know, it's hard to have sex if you're floating around in the water, right? You need to get some solid footing and get a position. And so polar bears are actually thriving. In fact, people, you know how they do the census? They come and you get a form, you fill it out, tell them about your life, and then they make a census. They were doing that back when Jesus was running around. And so there's also a census on polar bears. Did you know that? I didn't. Again, I'm learning. And so did you know that there are more polar bears now than there were when Al Gore was born? Just, so his whole thing about the polar bears, because people like polar bears. And so they think that's a big deal. So the other thing, I don't know whether you remember about Hurricane Katrina. You remember the liberal media? You remember how gnarly Hurricane Katrina was? And it hit the worst place in the country because all those people down in New Orleans are on welfare, and they can't find their butt with either hand. And they're so used to the government coming and wiping their rear end every morning for them. So they couldn't even figure out how to get out of town, those welfare people. So it killed a bunch of those folks. And the people that ran New Orleans, all the money that was supposed to, they just like Yuba City and Marysville, we got levees here to keep the high water from flooding our houses and businesses. Same thing in New Orleans. And so, but the politicians in New Orleans had been stealing the money for years that was supposed to go to the levees and spending it on something else or pocketing it. So when the Katrina hit, those levees folded quickly. But they blamed it on mankind, humankind, womankind. And so the only blame that mankind should have gotten was that they were corrupt and stole the money, right? It had nothing to do with global warming. So what Gore did and his scientists, by the way, when I was going to school, I had great respect for scientists because they were these people that were impartial and they'd look at a problem and they wouldn't just come to their own conclusion and then get facts to back it up. They came up with what they called a hypothesis, an idea, and then they thought, well, do we have facts to support that? Nowadays, it's totally different because scientists are all paid off by politicians, and it's hard to find an honest scientist because they're all little prostitutes. They're hookers. So a hooker will do whatever you want. She'll ask you, what do you want? And then she'll say, well, that's $40, right? Or if you want that, that's $100. Or if you want the whole deal, that's $200 or $300. So it's kind of like a menu with a prostitute. And same way with scientists. So scientists funded by politicians, which are the Johns or the pimps, right? Pimps give the money to the prostitutes, and then they do whatever they want them to do. And so same way with these scientists now, they have cheated and lied because when they do that and tell the pimps or the politicians what they want, then they keep getting more money, right? They keep getting more money to say what the politician wants so they can get the type of control and action they want to get. So if there's a big crisis with the climate, then they can take control of your and my life. So Gore says that this is now the way of the future. We're going to have one Hurricane Katrina after another because we created Hurricane Katrina. Hurricane Katrina was a number 3 or Category 3 hurricane, but no hurricanes of that magnitude landed on U.S. soil except one between 2005 after Katrina and 2017. That's 12 years. The longest such drought of those magnitude hurricanes ever. It's almost like God said, you're so stupid. I'm just going to dial this back. I'm going to take control of this and make you really look bad, Mr. Gore. So we had a drought on Measure 3 or Category 3 hurricanes. The second thing is there's these things called tornadoes. Now in California, we usually don't have either. We have floods and fires. So there's Category 3 tornadoes, which are gnarly tornadoes, but there's actually been a downturn for 60 years of Category 3 tornadoes. So they keep claiming stuff that nobody really is following up, looking at the facts on these things. Then they start talking about, well, really, CO2. You remember CO2 in high school? I remember the first time I heard this. I thought it's funny what things stick with you. The first time I heard that when I breathed out, that plants took what I breathed out, which is carbon dioxide, they sucked it in, and then they put out something that I could use. I thought, I wonder who thought that up. That's an amazing thing. That's an amazing thing right there. So then when the people that aren't stupid, scientists that aren't stupid are paid off, when they came to the idea that actually farmers do better when there's plenty of CO2, carbon dioxide, because plants thrive when there's an abundance of CO2. Why? Because that's like me. When I got lots of oxygen in my lungs, I'm feeling really good. You ever seen a person going down the street with stuff, those little tubes stuck up their nose, pushing a walker, and have a little backpack on that's got oxygen there? They don't look too good. They look like they're just hanging on because they're not getting enough oxygen, right? That's how it is when plants don't get enough CO2. So when you get lots of CO2, things are really green and lush. And so carbon dioxide is far from being a problem. It's really a blessing. And that's what I wrote in my article if you want to read it. But it's interesting to me. I don't know, I saw a clip of, I went back and looked at some Ross Perot clips. I loved that when he ran for president. So he's debating Al Gore. I thought, man, Al was looking good back then. He was losing his hair, but he was all trim, looking good, handsome guy. Now, man, he's all obese and everything. You'd think if he's concerned about the environment and farting and everything, because, when you fart, then that contributes to the carbon footprint. That's what Governor Brown says. He's trying to save us as well. All these Democrats tried to save us. But he's going to be farting a lot, but that being that obese and everything. And I thought, he's like consuming a lot of he says, the problem with the United States are consuming too many natural resources. Well, honestly, Al, you're twice the size you used to be. Doesn't that concern you? And then he just bought another big mansion on the coast. He bought a coast mansion knowing that the ice cap was going to be dumping all this water and flooding his front room. But he bought a house there anyway. So I don't know. So the one thing that Al has come out ahead on this deal, even though he's made an embarrassment of himself, he looks terrible. Oh, my goodness. And he's saying all kinds of stupid stuff. But one thing he's really come out on is he's made hundreds of millions of dollars pitching the carbon footprint deal and punishing businesses, extorting money out of businesses, and having to pay into these funds like this carb fund that the state of California is taking money from business. Just another reason to steal more money from people. So Gore has come out. He's made himself a multimillionaire out of the deal. So one thing, if you're just into money, you think, well, smart Al Gore. For those that aren't into money, you'd say, well, he ripped us off. I ran into a really cool thing the other day. I think a friend, I got a number of people now, like all these daily talk show hosts, they have these staff of people that do research for them. For me, it's just Lou, and then there's Lou. But now I got a handful of people that send me stuff that they think is up my line and up my alley, and in case I want to use it. So this was sent to me by a friend, longtime friend, and I went on this website. I thought it was so cool. So this is for those of you that are interested in Vietnam War, and maybe you have some friends or relatives that died during the war. But there's a website that you can find anybody, like, let me just say, it says, when you click on this website, when it opens, scroll down to the city. In other words, when you go to the website, it lists all the cities in the United States. And you just click on the city where you went to high school. And then it shows you all the names of the people that died during the Vietnam War. If maybe you forgot or you didn't know because you were busy doing other stuff, and then you can click on the name. It lists all the names, and it will give you the details of the person's death, a picture, and their bio and their medals. Isn't that cool? So I did that, and I was it was a mixed emotions for me because I knew personally I was in physical education. I was in classes with some of the guys that died, and so if you go to Virtual Wall, it's a website, Virtual Wall, just common spelling, one word, virtualwall.org / I, like the letter I, states. And that should take you to the website, virtualwall.org/I, the letter I, states, like States of the Union. And then you can just find your way through it. It's pretty fascinating. I noticed a few that they didn't have a photo because I went around and looked at beyond what my interests were. But really cool. So I just wanted to pass that on and let you know what was shaking. One of the things that I can't figure out is what's up with the price of gas. One week we're pushing $4 a gallon. The next week it's heading towards $2. I can't figure out what in the world is driving all these prices. Now I know that in other states they are $1 to $1.50 less than California, no matter where we're at, whether we think we got a good deal going this month or not. And we know that we have the highest taxes on our fuel of any in the nation. And secondly, that most of those taxes have nothing to do with paying for our roads and bridges, etc. They just use the money. They just tax us on that fuel. It's kind of like a sin tax. You know, it's one thing if they put all the taxes on cigarettes into putting new lungs in people or fighting cancer. Maybe they ought to tax homosexuals each time they screw somebody up the backside, since then they could put all that money towards AIDS. Like send in $10 every time you have sex, and then we'll put it towards AIDS research, so then you won't get sick when you use the wrong holes, right? Just a thought. So, you know, a lot of the taxes we pay, or some of the taxes we pay, have to do with, that's a use tax, like it's a toll tax, like on going over a bridge. They put that money back into fixing that bridge up, painting that bridge. But in California, they just find a reason to tax you, then they use it for whatever they doggone want. They'll just give it to illegal aliens, or they'll put some illegal alien through school and use your road tax money. They just put it in the general fund. So I saw this list. Sometimes I'm suspect, but it listed like Germany, England, Italy, Greece. Now, some of you just think Europe's all cool. Now, I told somebody the other day, they said, Lou, you ever gone to Europe? In fact, they were Germans. They were immigrants from Europe. I had dinner with them. Really cool people. And so they said, have you ever been to Germany? I said, yeah, once, but I never made it out of the airport. I just flew through Munich and went right up to Moscow, and I was just switching planes. And but I never made it out on the ground. Now, some of you in the military went to Germany and England, right? That we got bases over there. So some of you just think Europe is all that and a bag of chips, and you like that socialism. Well, the problem is that you don't look very closely, because right now, I don't know what you think you're paying for gas. I know over there in Idaho, you're probably almost $1 cheaper than we're over here. But this little clip I saw off the internet said in Germany it's $6.04 a gallon, England $6.10, Italy $6.84, Greece $6.83 a gallon. That's a lot of money. You think, people are freaking out. $3.83 a gallon in California, and it's like some place in the United States right now, it's under $2 right now. It's unbelievable. But that's what you get for socialism, right? And they have what they call a VAT tax. That's a value-added tax. That's like a sales tax. That's like Measure K tax or Measure C. They have sales taxes at 19%, 20%, 22%, 24%. Unbelievable. So you think, oh, yeah, that's the life over there. Oh, go try that. Then you get into income taxes in Greece. They say 65%. That's hard to, I don't even understand why they would state that, because we have what we call a progressive income tax. In other words, it gets progressively higher the more money you make, right? So I don't even know how the taxes work in Europe. So I don't want to even get into quoting those because it may not make any sense. But the VAT tax, sales tax, or a value-added tax, VAT tax they call it, and the gasoline with the tax, that makes a lot of sense to me, because I know how much I pay per gallon. That's how much they pay per gallon. So, a lot of times we think, everything about our life is controlled from Washington or the Sacramento state capitol. But I stumbled across this comment by Barbara Bush, not George, the youngest George Bush's wife. That's Laura. This is George H.W. Bush's wife, Barbara. And she said this, which I thought, I love that. She said, you must read to your children, and you must hug your children, and you must love your children. Sounds reasonable. Most people would agree that, right? But then she says this, your success as a family, our success as a society, depends not on what happens in the White House, but on what happens inside your house. I thought that made a lot of sense to me, because a lot of times we get so caught up with all the drama, political drama. But a lot of times the biggest change we're going to make in our country is like what happens inside the walls of our house, like teaching our own kids. Like you say, that we complain about the school systems. I complain about the school system. They won't teach the Constitution. The bottom line, the Constitution's right there on your computer. It's right there in maybe the books on your shelf. Why don't you sit down and teach your kids that? Turn all the video games off. Teach the kids about the Second Amendment. There's no excuse anymore. Chris Ann Hall, you can go on Chris Ann Hall's podcast or website, Chris Ann, Krisanne Hall. She is a constitutional scholar, and she'll wrap it down on all the amendments for you. The 14th Amendment with the anchor baby issues, the Second Amendment, the religious rights amendments, First Amendment, free speech amendment. She'll wrap that down. You could do a teaching. I remember at one time some of my friends said, I could never homeschool. I'm not smart. I'm not a teacher. Honestly, right now, you could darn near homeschool right off the internet with all the clips. My goodness, I could learn more off the internet in a couple weeks about the Constitution than going to a civics class. I don't even know whether they teach civics at Marysville High School anymore or Yuba City High. You could learn more overnight, maybe in a solid couple hours of YouTube clips. Hillsdale College, for goodness sake. Oh, by the way, I wanted to back up. I was talking about Measure K in the last hour. Everybody in California that owns property should go donate money to Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. I'm going to give you a website, and you could donate to them. hjta.org. hjta.org. Everybody that owns property, Howard Jarvis is saving you thousands of dollars a year off your taxes. And I get a kick out of people. We won't want to contribute to any signs against Measure K. I just don't have any money right now. I don't want to contribute to. I wish Cal Water was cheaper water, but I didn't know what to do. Right? You don't do jack, but you can always pay your water bill and always pay your property taxes. Well, Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association is waging this fight against Yuba County. It's trying to rip us off. You ought to give them some money. Send them $10, $25, $150, $300. hjta.org. They're saving me thousands of dollars a year on my house over here in Marysville. You can find out on their website how much they're saving. hjta.org, and you can put in on their little thing on their homepage how much you think your house is worth, and they'll tell you each year how much they're saving you since they got Prop 13 passed in 1978. All right. Wiki said somebody else is needing to talk right away, so we're going to let them. We'll be back for another half a show, hour and a half. We're going to hang it around if you want to, or you can listen to us later. I'll tell you how in a minute later on. Okay, bye-bye.
The Territorial Dispatch. Papers are weekly and can be obtained free at distribution or by mail through subscription. It's the only locally owned and operated newspaper in the region. The paper is the rest of the story. And also check out the E-Territorial. It's an online version of the Territorial Dispatch which features local news and events for the Yuba Sutter, Colusa, and Nevada County areas. You'll also find daily and breaking news updates, current traffic, and weather information along with a calendar of local events. Visit the E-Territorial at e-territorial.com. myterritorial.com.
As for me and the Wicked Man, we just wish you a Merry Christmas. And we got an hour and a half to go here, so we want you to have a happy Christmas. Hope things going good for you. We want to thank Thomas Burns for coming in and giving us some homemade cookies. Come on, man. We were like, both of us are like feeling it now. We downed a couple of those loaded with chocolate and sugar and like, whoa. We don't do methamphetamines. We do the next thing to it, sugar. Right. We're feeling good out here. Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate the stopping by. Well, we played a ad a while back. I think Wikiman did. I was running around trying to get a cup of coffee here on trauma intervention and trauma intervention program in Yuba and Sutter counties. I know out there in these other counties you don't have one because your emergency responders didn't think y'all needed it. But in Yuba Sutter counties for 25 years now, we're in their 25th year. We've done almost 11,000 911 responses. And you think, oh, well, why is that needed? You know, it's like, well, we got the cops, we got the firefighters, we got Caltrans, we got ambulance people. Isn't that enough? Actually, there's a lot of people that just don't know what to do after something bad happens. If you woke up tomorrow morning and your partner was dead next to you, what would you do? You know what to do? You got a plan? Probably none of you do. Tip, trauma intervention or tip, they know what to do. Whether it's a fire, car crash, what agencies are doing what, help you get service at the hospital faster, answer all your questions. So the other day, I got an email from a law firm, a secretary at a law firm. She said, hey, we have a lady at this law firm who needs some help. And she said her house burnt down, and no one called Red Cross, and no one called TIP. House burned down in Marysville. No one called nobody did anything. And now she didn't get any help. She's lost all of her stuff. She has a 20-month-old baby and a 13-year-old boy. And can you help her? So when I contacted her, I found out that just 60 days prior to the fire, her husband died. I want you to just think about that for a minute. How much can one person take? Some people I run into on these trauma intervention calls, I just look at myself in the mirror and I think, could you pull that off? Could you hang with that? Like, that's hard. So her husband, who they just had a brand new baby, he died. Probably, I don't know, was 40. I don't know, was in his late 30s, 40, something like that. Pretty young. And then 2 months later, she's away. She didn't do anything wrong. She was away visiting friends, relatives, and her house caught on fire, electrical or something, burned up. So, and I said, how did you think of us? She said, well, you had a trauma intervention volunteer that came to my house when my husband died, and I had no idea what to do. And she stayed longer than my relatives did. After everybody, she stayed for hours to help me and just answer any questions and be with me. And she said, I don't remember her name, but she was wonderful. So she said this gal works in a legal office, just starting out in life. And so I helped reconnect her to Red Cross. They said, oh, well, she missed the window of opportunity to get help on her fire because she should have. So I said, how do people know? People don't know how to call the Red Cross if the fire department doesn't do their job, right? So the fire department didn't do their job. They didn't call TIP. They didn't do jack. They didn't know what to do, I guess. So anyway, I asked them to make an exception for her, and I think they are. But then we lined her up with, out of Glad Tidings, we got this warehouse full of like relief goods for fire victims up in Paradise, and we've been sending truckload after truckload up there. So I sent her over there yesterday. And she came by my house, said, stop by my house. I got some cash for you. And but she said, Lou, they helped me with shoes. They helped me with clothes, diapers, hygiene items, stuff. And she was thrilled. And so then we helped her with a few $100s in cash and just help her get on her feet, right? It's the right thing to do, right? I don't know how many tough situations you can have happen to you in a row. How would you do? Woke up tomorrow, coming into Christmas and your partner's cold next to you, non-responsive, or you get a call and somebody's got run over. Well, Trauma Intervention responds 24 hours a day. We do about 35 to 40 calls a month. So, and we don't use any government tax dollars. For 25 years, not one of your dollars that was given to taxes has come our way. We are supported by emergency responders occasionally. We just got a check from Foothill Fire Department, the volunteers up there, Linda Fire Department. Some of them, now that we don't do a dinner, don't support us like they used to, but we got a, Bi-County Ambulance, a big supporter, and the hospital. We're providing a higher level of care in Yuba Sutter than any other county gets that you can think of. So if you want to help us, you're wondering, where can I give money? You always wonder, where can I give money where it actually goes to the need? With TIP, I was just telling somebody the other day, I was speaking at Kiwanis, they said, we don't even have an office. We don't pay rent. We don't pay utilities. We just operate like terrorists. We operate out of briefcases in our houses, and we're lean and mean. Almost all the money goes to our clients and training our volunteers. And I say almost because we do have some printing costs and telephone costs because we get calls from the 911 system, so we have to have a variety of cell phones, So there's some office supplies, but we're not paying for buildings and all that kind of stuff, and we're not paying for staff, right? So all the money goes. And it's fascinating to me how people give to other organizations, and 10, 15, 20% or more of their money goes to administration, and some of their money goes to another community. It doesn't even stay in this community. So if you want to help us, you can, the easiest way, or it might be not be the easiest for you, but one way is to, where we get 100% of the money, is just send us a check to TIP, P.O. Box 88. P.O. Box 645. TIP Box 645, Marysville, California, 95901. Or you can there's a GoFundMe account at gofundme.com/TIP2019. GoFundMe.com/TIP2019. Or you can go to yubasuttertip.org and just go, if you want to use PayPal or something like that, you can go to yubasuttertip.org and just it'll direct you on how to give a donation. But if you want to help us, we've raised this is our fundraising time of year. We've raised almost right at $18,000. We were shooting to collect. Last year we did 30. We were hoping to get 40 last year. We're going for 40 this year. So we're 12,000 short yet. And if you want to do a $12,000 check, we'll take it and send you a nice thank you note. So that's that. So we'll get back to business here. I saw this clip. It's interesting. You remember, since Trump has been elected, everybody and everything's getting investigated, right? On the conservative side, we're investigating who he ever had sexual relations with, whether he paid her any money, et cetera, right? But let me just list a few issues that happened in the past regime, the Obama regime, the Obama presidency, that you may have forgotten about, that never really came to any conclusion. Nobody really got impeached. Nobody went to jail. No one got fined. Let me just mention, how about Uranium One, where the Clintons got paid millions of dollars personally, and allowed Russia to export a huge amount of our uranium. How about Benghazi? You heard a little clip about that, where they blamed it on this stupid little film clip, and really they just ignored rescuing some of our finest people, including our ambassador to Libya. How about Solyndra? You remember when we gave $500,000 to Solyndra? Or was it $500 million? $500 million. $500 million to Solyndra. Remember Solyndra, the solar company? They took the money. They'd been big donors to Obama's campaign, huge donors. They took the taxpayers' money and then turned around and filed bankruptcy, spent the money and filed bankruptcy. How about Fast and Furious, where Brian Terry was murdered down there with guns from the United States? that Eric Holder, the Attorney General, and Barack Obama were involved in, and then they lied about it. How about the Lois Lerner IRS targeting of 501c3 and 501c4 organizations, including one of the local Tea Party organizations here? But even churches and other conservative organizations, no question about what they did. But Lois Lerner and Koskinen, another IRS guy, Koskinen, Lois Lerner, all the other people involved, everybody got their retirement. No one went to jail, right? How about how many billions of dollars? Remember those pallets of cash? Have you ever seen so much cash in your life flowing in to Iran? Was it 1.8 billion? I think it was billion. Anyway, cash to Iran. Nobody did it. Nobody questioned that, right? No, it was no big investigation. It's just like we just give away billions of dollars. How about rigging the primary where Bernie Sanders wins the Democrat primary and we gave it to Hillary Clinton? Do you think anybody, we're worried about, we're still investigating Russia. All the Russia influence in our election. What about the Democrats and goofing over their own primary? There's no laws on that. How about illegally storing emails? Now we're bringing up Trump's daughter's emails, but we never did really do anything with Clinton's emails or with the Weiner family emails, right? How about paying for a fake dossier? Doesn't look like there's going to be any consequence on that. How about lying under oath with all these FBI? How about, have you ever seen anybody as corrupt as FBI Director Comey or McCabe or Strzok or all these FBI total crooks? They're still running around back there testifying and selling books, spying on Trump. Yep, Trump and the Republicans are the only ones being investigated with any consequences, right? Oh, we're gonna get his tax returns. Oh, this, oh, that. Saw this cartoon the other day about California. It says, living in California be like, little Ebonics, be like. Living in California be like. Breathing costs there's a bill. Breathing, $1. Talking, $5. Standing, $10. Existing, $2. Lollygagging, $2. Chewing, $1. Did you see where they're talking in California about taxing your text messages to support phone services for the poor? Is there anything, if you're poor, like I remember taking a lady, she got out of Yuba County Jail, and I took her over to get an Obama phone. She just got herself an Obama phone. Just walked right out of jail. She was in jail for fraud and beating a guy up, stealing this old guy's money. I think she coaxed him with having sex with her, making this old man think he's going to get a little loving. And she just walloped him, took all his money, ripped him off. She went to jail for it, she and her boyfriend. And so she got out. She went right over and got herself an Obama phone. I thought, what's wrong with this picture? When I look at my bill, whether it's Cal Water or PG&E or my cell phone bill, and there's all these little charges down there, and I'm paying for all these people. I believe anybody can change their life, but I'm not going to fund drug addicts and weirdos to go out and do stupid stuff, right? I don't want to fund that. And the government doesn't ask any questions. They just give you stuff, right? There's no discretion. There's no judgment. There's no wisdom. They just give stuff away. And then they pat themselves on the back on how many people they helped. I get a kick out of it when Robert Bendorf at Bendorf Zoo, when they set up, they fenced in those tough sheds and put people in there, right? And then when they want to tell the newspaper, the Appeal Democrat, the daily newspaper, all their successes, they don't talk about too much about where people are working or getting their lives straight or that they're off drugs or whatever. They tell about how many referrals they gave. Referrals. Have you given a referral? Remember, you worked out at Glad Tidings. Have you told people where to go get a job? That don't mean jack diddly. It don't mean jack diddly. Tell people, oh, I'm going to refer you over here. We made 300 referrals. I thought, come on, man. Some people believe that stuff, that's significant. Yeah, my God, we sit around a table of bureaucrats at the county. Yeah, we made 350 referrals. We told people what to do. You should do this. By the way, one of my gals, we got her living out the church now, because I tell the gals in there, I said, I'm not going to shoot on you. Don't shoot on me. I'm not going to shoot on you. So I'm just going to tell you what the opportunities are out there. You can change your life, but I'm not going to tell you what you should do. You do whatever you want to do. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And so she had me a shirt made, Don't Shoot on Me. It's a black shirt with white print. I thought, come on, girl. I said, I love that shirt. I'm going to wear it down to the training zone gym. Don't shoot on me. So anyway, all these people, the government's accomplishments, we're going to spend $1 million and we're going to give 400 referrals and put people in tough sheds. House them over there. Come on. All right. Well, we're going to tax your texts. How about that? I'm just, people look at me and say, Lou, you're 100 years old. Do you even know how to use it? You know how to text? There's kids in juvenile hall, they think, you tweet, twit, text. They just laugh at me. They think, oh, they don't think people back there had any brains back there in the 1800s when you got born. All right. So have you been hearing about the Boy Scouts? What time is it? Oh, I just got a few minutes here. I don't know whether I can even find this by the time here, I'm close. Have you, a few years ago, maybe 15 years ago, the Boy Scouts came to Glad Tidings. They said, will you guys start a Boy Scout troop? I said, yeah, we'll start one. We got a lot of kids out here. Maybe we should start one. So we started one, right? And you remember? And it was good. It was a good deal. We had a lot of kids involved, and we started Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. And George Shaw, George, been an attorney around here for years, worked for the state of California, and his wife Sherry. They're very fine people, and both masters in social work. George is an attorney. Anyway, he was kind of getting close to retirement, so he said, I'll take this on. And so we actually saw some young guys accomplish the Eagle Scout level. I mean, they did good. But then all kinds of changes started happening in the Boy Scouts, right? They said, well, we're now going to have allow leaders that are homosexuals and all kinds of stuff, right? Things are going crazy. And so the Boy Scouts, I don't even think that troop now exists anymore. I'm sure George doesn't run it, but we had such great success helping kids that a lot of them didn't have dads and getting on their feet and learning some skills and leadership skills. And we even had some of the Eagle Scouts did projects out on the campus at Glad Tidings and improved the campus. So the Boy Scouts I wouldn't be surprised if it totally collapses. It's going broke. And but this is the rest of the story that may shock you. And do you know who Rex Tillerson is? Yeah, who worked for Exxon Oil, and he was our Secretary of State for a while, right, under Trump. But then there's another guy named Robert Gates, who was also Obama's Secretary of Defense. And those two guys, right before they got involved in those political appointments, they worked for the Boy Scouts. Did you know this? Oh, this just totally blew my mind when I read this. So it says, Tillerson recently, it says in this article, called Trump dumb as a rock, right? And he said that was payback for an interview in which his former Secretary of State called Trump undisciplined and a poor study, right? So they exchanged words. And Trump had selected Tillerson for the job, and you wonder, well, how did he know Tillerson? I thought he maybe knew him in business, but the recommendation came from a guy named Robert Gates. He recommended Tillerson to take the Secretary of State and Robert Gates was basically a reputable guy, Secretary of Defense for Barack Obama, right? Well, Gates and Tillerson knew each other primarily from the Boy Scouts, where they both held leadership positions during its transition from a traditional conservative Christian organization to a politically correct one. These guys led the transition. And as president of the Boy Scouts, Gates had endorsed the adoption of the LGBT agenda, urging the organization to give in to the demands of its critics. He cast adherence to a Christian principles, not the betrayal of Christian principles, but the adherence to Christian principles as a real threat to the organization's future. We'll tell you the rest of the story when we come back for one more hour. NYC 1410 AM, The Patriot. I think somebody told me one time we're supposed to say that a couple times when we do this show. So there you go. If you want to catch us later, if you think, oh, man, I forgot what he said, or maybe said this, or I hate what he said, or somebody should listen to it, you can go to One Eye Blind Media. If you want to sue me, go over to One Eye Blind Media. Let's do that. Or arrest me. That's fine. One Eye Blind Media on YouTube, you can listen to it. They have to edit it a little bit over there because some of these clips we play, they're copyrighted for YouTube's purposes. They're all right for us, but... Well, we've been talking about a government. I'm not their citizen. Then when they get done with me, they'll send me home. So that's what goes on here, except here we allow people that have been living here for a while, whether they came in illegal or not, to fight the process to kick them out. You understand that? And we pay for their housing here at about $100 a day, plus we haul them back and forth to court in San Francisco, if they're California held, and we help them get attorneys, and we take care of all their medical care. You think this isn't a multi-million dollar a day deal up and down all around the United States? And they can appeal. You got all these immigration courts. You know how much these judges are costing? A couple $100,000 a year. And they all get to fight all this stuff. Well, let me just tell you, to me, the size of the problem is immense. Like over in Yuba County Jail, there's a lot of Homeland Security people, federal people that work over there because you got a couple hundred incarcerated illegal aliens. And they need to manage their issues. And so I want to just tell you the magnitude of the issue. ICE agents, that's Immigration and Custom Enforcement, arrested 158,581 illegal aliens in the last fiscal year, surpassing the more than 140,000 illegal alien arrests made last year and the 110,100 illegal alien arrests in the last year of President Obama's tenure. I want you to think about that. We live in a big country, millions of people, but these are just illegal aliens. And they weren't arrested just because they were crossing the border illegally. Let me tell you what they're arrested for. Of the almost 160,000, right? I said 155,81. 66 were convicted criminals or those with pending charges. So let me give you an idea. 54,000, almost 55,000 convicted of drunk driving. 30,000 convicted of assault. Almost 10,000 convicted of burglary. 4,400 robbery. 3,740 sexual assault. Almost 1,300 kidnapping. That's 105,000 of them convicted criminal this year. That's this year. Now, let me give you this. This will stagger you. I don't know whether you've ever been assaulted before. I have people that I know that have been carjacked, assaulted, shot, everything. So between 2017 September and October 2018, a fiscal year, ICE agents arrested more than 6,600 convicted murderers and sex offenders. Convicted. That are now back out on the streets, courtesy of these sanctuary city stuff. 6,600 in 12 months convicted murders and convicted sex offenders. 4,975 of the illegal aliens were convicted sex offenders. 1,641 murder. Another 1,913 were arrested by ICE, had pending sex offenses, and 387 had pending murder charges. I want you to think about that. They're out there where you are. It's one thing. I'm not saying Americans are not committing any crimes, but do we want to just let people walk in here without any kind of vetting, no health checks? You know, I had a gal speaking for me at the, she's from the health department, and she does a sexually transmitted infection. They don't call it disease anymore. They call it STIs, not STDs. So we do this talk. It's one of the most popular talks in the jail. It's the only talk that men actually applauded at the end of the talk because it scares the hell out of them. Everybody thinks they got a disease at the end of the talk. And she talked about that a number of years ago, maybe it's 10 years ago or 15 years ago, syphilis, which you can read about it back in the way back. Syphilis, a gnarly sexually transmitted illness, was down to about 2,000 cases or something like that. It was one of those deals they almost eradicated. And all of a sudden now it's up to 20,000 cases and growing, right? And rapidly growing in the United States. So every once in a while you see, and so what happens is in public health, if somebody if they find somebody's got active tuberculosis or gonorrhea or chlamydia or all these diseases, they try to trace or track their partners so they can run it down and treat everybody and stop it, right? But when you have people coming into the country that are bringing in they got chlamydia on board, they got syphilis on board, they got hepatitis C on board, they got HIV on board and having relations with people, that's bad news for the entire population. Big bad news. But there's no checks going on when people are just free flowing through those borders. So it's a pretty gnarly situation. Now, the thing is, as I mentioned earlier in the show, walls are very effective. And I read an article about this guy talking about the impact of a wall. For one thing, walls eliminate people shooting and throwing rocks and attacking border guards. They got a wall there, so they got to come across the wall. It slows them down. And the other thing it stops is it stops the media from manipulating the stories of people just running through the border and claiming they're all these children. Because a wall there will stop the average person from coming through. It will slow them down. It'll slow the flow. And so for every person that makes it through, they end up having to go through due process. You know what that's like? You ever been arrested and go through due process, bail hearings, arraignment, all that stuff, getting an attorney, being fed, taken care of, all those due process that we have as citizens? They also give due processes to hundreds of thousands of people that are like just running into the country. Instead of just picking them up and taking them back like you would take a stray dog and shoo him out of your yard, you can't do that. It would be like every creature that ever came into your yard, you'd have to take it into your yard, care for the creature, and try to find the owner, and you couldn't just dump the creature, right? That's how this is. So we got a half hour to go, and we got another break we got to take, and we got 30 more minutes, so we'll be right back.
Did you know that Article 4, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution lays out the framework for the state of Jefferson's plan to split California. A state can be formed from the land within another state if the state legislature and Congress approve it with a simple majority vote. 51% is all it takes. Your vote doesn't count in Northern California. California is broken and the time has come for 51. Please visit soj51.net and donate now to show your support.
Check out the Territorial Dispatch. Papers are weekly and can be obtained free at distribution or by mail through subscription. It's only locally owned and operated newspaper in the region. The paper is the rest of the story. And also check out the E-Territorial. It's an online version of the Territorial Dispatch which features local news and events for the Yuba Sutter, Colusa, and Nevada County areas. You'll also find daily and breaking news updates, current traffic, and weather information, along with a calendar of local events. Visit the E-Territorial at eterritorial.com.
So we're going to be landing the plane here by noon, and a sports talk group will be in to pick it up for 2 hours. But we have a few minutes left today, and I wanted to mention some things that kind of clean up a couple things that we were talking about earlier. One is I was talking about gasoline costs, and we heard from our refugee friends in Idaho that have departed Marysville, and they said that the price of gas at Fred Meyer, I think Fred Meyer, what do you call Fred Meyer? They have them over here, don't they, in California? Fred Meyer? Is it like a kind of like a hardware Home Depot type thing? Or
no, it's like a department store.
Department store, Fred Meyer. So Fred Meyer department store, they sell gas over there in Twin Falls, Idaho. The price of gas is $2.63 over there. So I don't know whether that's about $1 cheaper or 80 cents cheaper than here, but that's just what's shaking just across in Idaho. But I know if you get down farther, down there in New Mexico or down southern states, it's a good $1 or so cheaper. The other thing I failed to mention, but I normally mention, is that if you want to listen to this show again or you miss part of it, you can always go to One Eye Blind Media. Now, if we don't do the show like we did last week, we got screwed up or screwed over by the tweaker techie here. So you can always go to One Eye Blind Media. If there's a show and you missed it, you can go to One Eye, the YouTube channel, One Eye Blind Media that Chris Starkey does for us and others, and he puts some shows on there. And so you can go to that YouTube site or YouTube channel and then just click on Live with Lou. Somebody said there's a little character there like what's his name? What's the guy's name? I can't remember that cartoon character.
Mr. Magoo?
Mr. Magoo, yeah. He said, is that you, Lou? I said, that'd be me. So if it's a Mr. Magoo character, there's an icon. Just go over there and pick the date you want at One Eye Blind Media, and you can listen to the show. It is a little bit different because some of the clips we play are not eligible to be over at YouTube without some kind of copyright stuff. I don't know all the rules, but they have to scrub those out. So it's a little shorter show, and you miss some of the clips. And maybe even the music is different because they can't just automatically play it over there for some reason. Again, I don't know all the rules. I just try to abide by them. So One Eye Blind Media, if you want to do a re-listen or you can't listen some week and you want to catch up with us, if we do a show, which we normally try, we always try, we never skip a show. So we try to do a show if we have things happen beyond some people got mad. Lou, do you know the show's all screwed up and they got Fox News playing over the top of you? And I just say, you know something? Complaining to me has no effect, and complaining to the station has no effect. So you'll just have to go have a donut and a cup of coffee and see if you can get a sugar high and get by with it. So I wanted to talk about sending your kids to college or a university. And so everybody's so happy when their kids want to go to college, right? Go on and get a degree, get some more education. You know, maybe they'll have a better lot in life if they get a little bit more education. But sending your kids off and spending $20, $30, $40, $50, $60,000 a year may destroy your kids. And it all depends on how solid a footing and philosophy and belief system your kids have on whether they're going to survive. So recently, remember earlier in the show, I was talking about scientists who are bought and paid for by the politicians to come up with results that the politicians want, like climate change, global warming. So not all of them. Usually, if you look at the political persuasion of university or college professors, it's in the high 90 percentile liberal, and you have very few conservative professors at any of these institutions that are your standard institutions like University of California system, Cal State University system, etc., throughout the United States. It's different at places like Liberty University, Hillsdale College, etc. So recently at Cal State University at Northridge, there's a scientist named Mark Armitage, 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 and he is a scientist that studies research on dinosaurs, evolution, all that kind of stuff. There's a term that his specialty, but I can't. I'll find it here in a minute, and I'll say it. It's an unusual term I've never even hardly repeated before, but it describes his area of study. But he was studying some dinosaur bones that they were on a mission and digging in area that bones were often found, and he found some. They brought them back, and while he was researching and looking in the microscope at these bones, they found some soft tissue. Now, I don't think they're talking about soft tissue like your skin, because usually when you die, your skin disappears fairly quickly. So this was in the marrow or the inside of the bone. There was actually some soft tissue. And soft tissue in dinosaur bones is bad news when it comes to the concept of evolution. It destroys the whole concept of what they call, quote unquote, deep time. Dinosaur bones cannot be considered old if they're full of soft tissue, according to Mr. Armitage in a YouTube video. And I haven't watched his YouTube video, but I'm very anxious to see it. So anyway, he's studying along. He's looking at these bones that they've dug up. I think they were in Montana. They went and did some research. And here he is. Armitage was hired by Cal State University, Northridge, as a microscopist. Never heard that term, never used it before. So he's good at using a microscope and sorting out what's what underneath the microscope. So he discovers that there's soft tissue, which there shouldn't be soft tissue in a dinosaur bone. So he says in this YouTube video, deep time is the linchpin of evolution. If you don't have deep time, you don't have evolution. The whole discussion of evolution ends if you show the earth is young. Young means that the biblical concept of a young earth is 6,000 years. People just mock that, all the scientists. Oh, it had to be hundreds of millions of years old, right? So he says he's a young earth guy, Mr. Armitage, and he happens to be a Christian guy. So he says you can erase evolution off the whiteboard because of soft tissue in dinosaur bones. He said dinosaur bones can't have any, if they're millions of years old, they cannot have soft tissue. So he was hired as a microscopist or scopist to manage CSUN's electron and confocal microscope suite in 2010. He's published some 30 articles in scientific journals about his specialty. So he graduated from Liberty University, which is I don't know why they hired this guy, because Liberty University is a Christian university. Armitage adheres to the concept of what I said before, the young earth view, against the majority of scientists who say that our planet is 5 billion with a B years old. So he engages his students in his lab with Socratic dialogue, that means asking questions of your students, over the issue of the Earth's age based on his and others' research. So in 2012, Armitage went on a dinosaur dig in Hell Creek, the site of Hell Creek, Montana, and they unearthed the largest Triceratops horn. In other words, that creature had a long horn on it. So they found this horn and they brought it back. he put the fossil under the microscope and made the startling discovery that there was unfossilized, undecayed tissue in that horn. Bad news for evolution, according to Mr. Armitage. If the dinosaurs were 65 million years old, the soft tissue could not have possibly remained, he says. And then there was a second finding, groundbreaking discovery by noted molecular paleontologist Mary Schweitzer, who triggered a freak out when she published about soft tissue in dinosaur bones in 2005. So anyway, it's the idea that our minds are made up. This is what we're going to teach kids, even though they don't have any scientific backing to produce it. We have Charles Darwin. What was Charles Darwin in the 1850s? Charles Darwin posted a hypothesis or a suggestion that this could happen if this happened, if. But if there was no connection between a fossil link between primates and humans, then all bets are off. So they fired Mr. Armitage because he printed his findings, and so he said a biology professor came into his office and said, "We are not going to tolerate your religion in this office, in this department." That's it. So all you Californians who's going to send your kid to Northridge and think your kid's going to get really a balanced, critical thinking, focused education, don't bet on it. You're sending your kid to the intellectual meat grinder. Armitage, he was not a wuss like a lot of you are out there. You're wusses. You're just whiners, pussies, and you will never stand up for anything. You don't have a backbone. Your DNA, somehow, you at some point on the line, you lost your DNA, and you don't have any backbone. You don't know what you stand for, so you'll fall for anything. So professors and students alike had praised Armitage's work managing the microscope lab. In other words, they said, this guy is incredible. We love this guy. He does great work. So he filed a suit, just like the firm is filing the lawsuit on Measure K and Howard Jarvis is. Armitage filed a lawsuit that he was excluded from a secret meeting of microscopy of the microscope or microscopy committee. And in a smoking gun email, university officials suggested they could ease Armitage out of his part-time position by making it full-time and saying, we don't need you any longer. We're going to put this out for a full-time hiring, and so we don't need your part-time job anymore. So for 2 years, you guys willing to fight for 2 years for anything in your life? Anything worth it? Or you just want to give up and sell your breast milk and hair and your body to make ends meet? Because that's where we're headed on all this baloney. Constant erosion of our rights. For 2 years, Armitage fought in court. The university alleges firing was simply a restructuring of the department. Liars and cheat, corrupt people they are down there. Not a case of religious discrimination, but CSUN lost its bid to have a judge throw the case out. They paid Armitage just $500 short of $400,000 in 2016. So, of course, although they gave $400,000 worth of our tax money away, they said that there wasn't a thing we did wrong down here at the Cal State University at Northridge. Now, Armitage says evolution is the structure of evolution is supported by two pillars. One is chance, and the other is time. Chance is required because we obviously can't say that a thinking force created life on Earth. That is poison for the materialists. If you kick out one of the two pillars, the whole structure collapses, according to Armitage. If you kick out chance by showing incredible design, the structure of evolution starts to totter and it may crash. Because you cannot have design in a world that doesn't have a designer, right? The other pillar is time. because you cannot get a man from a frog unless the princess kissed the frog. That's a fairy tale. So in science, you have to have deep time to be able to come up with such a weird idea as evolution, right? Just keep adding lots of years, because I don't know how old you are, but I just didn't live 1,000,000 years ago, so I didn't get to see some weird creature. Armitage says soft tissue in dinosaur bones destroys deep time. Dinosaur bones cannot be old if they have any soft tissue in them. So the next time your teacher in high school goes on a rant about evolution, ask him about soft tissue and dinosaur bones and see if you can get him to, like, reminisce a little bit about Mr. Armitage down there in the Los Angeles. I think Northridge is in the Los Angeles area, so you could kind of find out what's shaking down there. Okay. And the final thing, we just got a couple minutes. Do you remember Aaron Persky? Aaron Persky was the judge down in Palo Alto that after Scott Turner, Olympic-level style swimmer, was arrested for raping a drunken, unconscious woman at a frat party. He ended up giving him 90 days in jail, claiming that no young man should have his wonderful career. Scott Turner happened to be a white guy from the Midwest, and he just didn't think that one funky act should be able to deep six his wonderful future. Sorry, it's not Scott Turner, it's Brock Turner. Brock Turner. So he just did a couple months in jail and then got put out on probation. So anyway, a Stanford University law professor began an effort to recall Persky. I think they got like 1 million signatures, or a gigantic number of signatures. Then he went on the ballot. They recalled him, and another person replaced him. And he began fighting that. In other words, he said this recall, something about it wasn't legit. So, anybody can take anybody to court for anything, right? So his campaign committee then began to fight the legitimate vote of the public. And he just kept bringing up little issues and keep taking them back to court, Persky collected more than $840,000 in monetary and in-kind donations and spent it all to keep his seat, even though he was voted out, led by Stanford law professor Michelle Dauber. So anyway, Mr. Persky, who judges said it's just wrong. Judges should be able to stay in power for life because they are infallible, and you're really going to do something terrible if you throw a guy out or a gal out. So Mr. Persky kept fighting his issue and ran out of money. This is amazing. This is a judge that's been in there for years. He ran out of money. So now he's $135,000 short in fees, and he's asking you to donate to him. So maybe some of you liberals out there can send money. I'm just putting in a pitch for Aaron Persky. He's going to have to go take a regular job as an attorney, and he can't go back and be a judge anymore. So he's down $135,000. And Dauber says Judge Persky made the bad decision to repeatedly file frivolous lawsuits and appeals with the goal of stalling and causing expense. And so the court ended up throwing out his issues and charging him with legal fees. So there you have it, $135,000. Persky, now 56, has been earning more than $186,000 as a judge. That's not even counting benefits. He would have gotten a pension of $150,000. What are you going to do when you're 60, 70, 80 years with $150,000 a year? I'd just give all that money to people that need it. I hardly spend any money every year. He would have got $150,000 a year for the rest of his life starting at 65, but he lost his pension. but he's still going to get health benefits from CalPERS. Isn't it amazing? The people throw him out of office, and he's still going to get CalPERS health care benefits starting at 65. Isn't that amazing? So anyway, that's it. The sports guys are like, they're scratching at the glass. They want it. They want it bad. They want the mic. So I'm out of here. We're coming back next week. Have a Merry Christmas. Do something kind for somebody this week. Catch you later.